If you see the trend that is happening in the democratic country is the lack of trust in the institution, and which resulted in the incidents like Capitol Hill and now what we saw a few weeks ago in Brazil. In this episode we will talk about that how people got manipulated, that there is a chance of such a riot in the country, and God forbids, which other democracy is also waiting for the similar incident like Capitol Hill and what happened in Brazil this month. Brazil, a country which is known for its football, now in the news because the riot happened in the country. It is alleged that the supporters of Bolsonaro had stormed different government buildings in Brazil.
Breaking situation in Brazil. Thousands of supporters of ousted former President Bolsonaro storming the presidential and congressional buildings, demanding he be restored to power.
And demanded to overturn the election results, as they have claimed that this election results is a fraud and they do not accept the results of the election. And speaking about the election results, the supporters of Bolsonaro are protesting since October. If you remember, 3 years ago, similar thing happened in USA when after the results, the Republican Party refused to accept the electoral polls, and eventually Capitol Hill happened.
Fuck you, police!
Speaking about the democracy and its trend, if such is the trend of the democracy, where the electoral poll, the mandate of the people, can be overturned by rioting and by some fringe groups, then naturally it is a threat to a democracy, because by that anybody who has the muscle power could overturn the mandate of the people. Speaking about democracy, it was said that the public knew everything. In Hindi we call it as public sab janta. But what if the public is manipulated? So the manipulation happened in various ways. So let's talk about the pre-social media manipulation and the post-social media manipulation. Earlier, politicians need to deliver what they had promised, and they would definitely target the poor people and try to change their lives by giving away few beneficiaries, and they would launch certain schemes which would impact the lives of the poor people, and thus they target poor people, and they kind of sure that if they deliver their promises, if they look after the poor people, that those poor people will going to vote for them. Now in this process, if a party delivers something for the poor and they are, for example, giving them free food, free cloth, ration, employment, then these people, they do not look at the background of the candidate that where they are coming from. So for example, if that candidate is a criminal, he might win, but one has to deliver the promises that was made, and if that political party broke the promise, the career of that political party is absolutely over. When a particular party tries to woo a community, especially the right-wing parties will try to target the major population of the country. For example, the Republicans are targeting the white Americans, the conservative Americans. Italy has won election, and it is said that it is conservative party. It also targeted the Italian population. In Hungary also, they targeted their population and their conservative and they tried to acquire a sense of the conservatism and a pride in maintaining their culture. So on one hand, the right-wing parties are managing to target a certain sections of the community, while in the liberal democratic parties are targeting the minority people, so that they would seem as a liberal country or as a liberal party. So for example, in India, Congress is a liberal party. Democrat in America is said to be a liberal party. So in this way, these both are targeting their population. And what is happening is that one party and the other party they have the common likes and dislikes, and they share their common problem, and which is why they get information one way, and this helps in building a bond between the party and the people. And now the role of the media. Media is the one instrument where the people get information, that is what is happening in the country, and they get their update. But all those methods that I said just now involved a very dedicated groundwork and a connection from people to people, where if people are not satisfied, they would ditch a political party. So the parties had to work very hard, and the previous generations got the benefits of a true democracy, where they had the power and they can anytime turn off the career of a political parties if the people's problems are not addressed properly. Now let's talk about the post-social media era and how it is impacting the democracy. So social media companies are basically run by the governments and the big corporates which funded their favorite government, and so the information that we get on the internet could be said that are pretty much biased, because these informations are got filtered by the algorithm, that how the algorithm works. So it is alleged that the algorithms they create or they manage their feed according to the choice of the person who is handling the social media or the Facebook. So if you follow a certain kind of news, then that news will be on your feed, and in this way what will happen is that you will be informed only a filtered information. So you are not getting out from that hole that is created in the name of the algorithm. Algorithm is the way that how the social media could create a slave or create a fan out of it. So it is seen that this algorithm is actually building a fan following rather than a person who asks questions or who debates, because the information that the person is getting is limited and filtered. And it could be said that this is a kind of is a hypnosis that is done over the people. And we see that because of this thing, because of the very clever play by the social media, and the fans are made, and which later on they create riot and they create certain conditions which is unacceptable for a which again became unacceptable for somebody who has sense. And thus we see the rise of this kind of incidents like the Capitol Hill what happened in Brazil this month, that they believe that their God, whatever they have created a person who had set them in such a pedestal, they are God and they cannot be questioned. And if questioned, then you have to bear the consequences, and consequences comes in what form? In the forms of riot. And if you have observed in online, in the form of online trolling. Now the question is that why there is a lack of trust. So as I have said, that there are certain points that how people are getting manipulated, and thus this helped in creating a one-sided view, and which is a strong one-sided view and creates a bias out of it. But we have to also see that there is a lack of trust in the institution, because institutions have had many a times had not played their role pretty well. So for example, from a common man's perspective, I can tell you that there are so many rules and law that we have to follow, and in every time we have to encounter the corruption. There is a systematic corruption that is there, and because of which the common people like me, people like you, we suffer. Now this is a tool for somebody to exploit, who wants to exploit the points of the who exploits the points of the democracy, to show that democracy is in the bad light, and to make you convince that the democracy does not work, because there is a lot of things, lot of hurdles that one has to cross over. So it's a two thing. If the dictatorship is one where the person's eyes are being plucked out and they are being made blind, in the era of the social media, the democracy seems to be like such, where the people themselves chose to be blindfolded, and they do not want to see what should be seen.